Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing playthrough of, yes, Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice, and slightly older version as I've talked about earlier. Now, sometimes I've been criticized for not getting very much, clock speed done on this, but hey, last episode we started in January and now it is February, so we are actually making progress here. Yes, they've been able to move in reinforcements, but I still have a little hopes of that collapsing and moving north and taking that back there. Now, where would be good to put pressure on them? Here looks like it'd be a good spot. Okay, they're not in good shape, but they are. They should push up. These guys can push up there. Well, there's a lot in Orel right now. But we want to cut the rail link here. Turn around, march right back in. So far, we look fairly stable here in the south. That might be a good province to push on. With support from these guys and support from one of these divisions. That way, oh no, I wanted one of them to support. Although they don't have a connection there. Oh, sorry, I thought they did. Okay, they don't. And we never did take that province, which is a bit of a problem, but What's Arno saying? Should have focused on the Panzer IV-H and Tiger I, the older tanks converted to assault guns. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Arno. Not at all. Battle for Orel is going on. Okay, let's... I've been worried about a lot of things here, but okay, anti-air. Let's look at anti-air. We probably only have one factory in it. Yeah, but we're gonna, let's get rid of this, yes. We need to be... mountain artillery. Yes, we have a lot of mountain guns, but, or mountain divisions, but we're gonna stop that. I'm loath to stop a factory here. SS uniforms. We've got so many SS uniforms. How many factories do we have? Just going to be the one, or is it going to be too many? I did not see any. Do we not have any in production? Probably not. Maybe we stopped that already. Okay, I guess we did. Yeah, that's why it says we're not producing enough. Machine guns, mortars, paratroop equipment. Ooh, paratroop equipment. Let's see about stopping any of that. We also don't need desert warfare equipment. Let's stop that. We're not fighting down in the deserts. And paratrooper equipment. Yes, of course we should have done this some time ago, but, you know, like I say, I'm loath to fully stop. Cavalry equipment, we don't have enough. Truck transports. Well, we've got a lot. Normally the problem with motorization is not enough fuel, but okay. We're gonna let the garrison equipment continue to be a negative problem, but radio and support equipment. Okay, support equipment, let's go with that. Where's radios? Down here. Okay, so we're gonna do better with that. Recon equipment. I think it was artillery that we are. Light artillery. Okay, so, and horse transport. Light art. And let's reduce Kuba by 1. Okay, hopefully that'll be better. The Rio Protocol. Protocol of peace, friendship, and boundaries between Peru and Ecuador, or the Rio Protocol. Okay, that's why I didn't know about it, because I really don't care about it much. Not in the midst of World War II. Okay, well, our offensive has completely stalled out. Yeah, the Panther would be a better option than the Tiger. But you remember, Beam Slam, the Tiger is a tank of 1942, and a Panther is a tank of, what, mid 43. So you're talking about a year's difference there. So Arno does have the point of having Tigers in 42 is better than waiting for Panthers in 43. So, yeah. Request to enter negotiation, so they... Okay, well, I don't. Okay, well, let's come over here, and the other was Bitson we need to do that for. Better. Panzer IVs. Yeah, and Beam Slam is right. That L70 gun is about equivalent to a 88. Hello, Extreme Fingerer. Battle for Orel is in a very nasty battle here. No, stability is actually pretty good. For this, the way this has been going, it's actually pretty good. I'm quite pleased with stability. Okay, so we got Sherplunk, which will help that. We could do this now. Plastic defense really make our tanks good. Weekly war support. Okay. We'll spend that to get it done faster. They're really trying to take this railway spot. And there. How is Italy? Italy's been actually holding its own right here, so it's been doing okay. Probably losing. Well, we're losing. I don't know why we're sending transport. Because what we're doing, I think here, and I wish I could cancel it, is had been like sending supplies to Sicily or something. I don't know. But got an American destroyer, British sub. Okay, so we're doing okay there. 2 British convoys. Lost a sub there. Oh, 6 American, 10 American, 5 American, 5 American, 3 American, they're 5. Okay, can't get rid of all those. Yeah, we're actually going pretty hard on American convoys down here. 7 and 5 of all those. And 2 and okay, well, so we're actually doing fairly well there. well. Let's put you convoy raiding out in the mid-Atlantic gap. Okay, they're pushing back hard, but we'll counterattack there with that and that. And since they're attacking there, we're going to attack here. With some German division in support. I really love to get that province, but I seem to really want to fight over it. See, the Panther really, you know, is needed for 1944. It really is. And before then, Arno is right that a Panzer IV and a Tiger, you know, one would be very effective. Okay, and we have new field uniforms. So, what I'm hoping is, and what, at least historically, so... Okay, currently we are, okay, I want to see outdated uniforms. Okay, the 36... Gamer's having another one of these moments. Yes, I see Arno over on Kick and Rumble, but hi people on Rumble. Actually, I think we have a few viewers over there. That's nice. Says 4 watching now. That's nice over there. Okay. Gamer's having one of these moments. I'm not sure, and it may be yes to all of these. I'm not sure if it's modern game design philosophy, shall we say, that Field Blouse model 1936, which here it tells me it costs 0.23 of a factory to make one. And then the Field Blouse model 1940 cost 0.26. So, you know, 0.03 more to make. Field Blouse model 1940. And it has pictures of jackets, helmets. Well, it looks like a shotgun shells, 2 versus 1. Don't know if those are supposed to be shotgun shells. No, okay, no, that's just Model 2. That's a Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral 2 that has multicolors on it for some reason. Okay, I don't understand it. And boots. They're not wearing pants? No, I mean, that's just a graphical thing. Yes, I know. And do they just, is it modern game philosophy? Oh, new model must cost more than old model, or new model must, oh, and it costs 2 metal versus 1 metal. So it must be more expensive. The newer one must be more expensive than the older one, because I don't know if if somehow its stats are better somehow. Let's, yeah, okay, defense 2.5, defense 2. Oh, so okay. Now, we're talking uniforms here, people, uniforms. We're not talking support equipment. Support equipment has a picture of an entrenching tool on it, okay? So, and wire cutters and an axe, and looks like a ammo can and a radio, but we have radios as a separate thing in this mod, and a you know, first aid kit. So we're not talking about, as far as I can tell, people, this is Gamer having one of these. What the fuck are you talking about, you stupid idiots? Now, I don't know, maybe they've corrected this in the new version. I doubt. Someone could go look that up. But are you really that retarded? Or, like I say, is it just, hey, better must cost more? We're talking about Feldblaus model 1936 and Feldblaus model 1940. So we're talking about, but we're gonna the whole uniform. So I'm presuming this is German stuff and not meant to represent American stuff or Soviet stuff or Japanese stuff, and it's not meant to represent, you know, the ammo pouches or whatever, the, you know, the entrenching tools. These are the clothing that these people are wearing. Okay. Now, I don't know how between these two uniforms, defensive, you know, reliability, I can sort of kind of see in, you know, rips and tears. How many miles you can march in a boot, or not just maybe how well the boot works, you know, falls apart or doesn't, but maybe how well the foot works in the boot, you know, how many blisters you get or something like that. But I really don't get defensive improvements. You can probably argue something, and I'll look at the chat in a moment. Keep saying your piece, but I'm just still like, what, you fucking idiots. So maybe you're going to argue that, oh, hey, yeah, they're more comfy, so you can duck, dodge, and dive and duck better in the, you know, the 1940 uniform than you can in the 1936 uniform. Now, German uniforms were actually sort of known to be, this was through World War I through to the end of World War II, to be sort of kind of loose-fitting, to sort of do that better than, especially if you look at American uniforms in World War I, sort of rigid and formal and well-constructed, and you look at American uniforms in World War II, they're sort of lumpy, very functional, but very unappealing visually. They sort of learned their lesson. So yeah, okay, maybe it's like, you know, the boots are lighter weight, or they're lace-up boots, and they, you know, went to the lace-up boot more than the jack boot, you know, the, you know, pull-up boot. And you go, oh, that makes them better soldier, you know, better able to duck, dodge, dive, and duck. I don't know if you know where I'm getting that from. Anybody gets a special point if they can get that reference. But so, okay, maybe we could argue in recovery rate, you know, in there. Okay, so maybe we can argue that the uniform is an improvement in soldiering, and then makes the soldier function better. We'll grant that for the moment. But you know, is it just the design philosophy of modern games, in which paradox is deeply entrenched in, to the point that I looked at this at artillery, sort of medium field artillery for Germany. And I looked at the stuff that they were using in 1936, manufacturing, not leftover World War I stuff or whatever, but stuff they were manufacturing in like 1936 until 1945. All of the German mainline production equipment. We're not talking about captured stuff or other things, but what they were producing. I went and looked at that and all of their improvements to the artillery. Now, I was just looking at medium artillery, and often you'll see with this game, oh, you start out with light artillery, and then you work to medium artillery, and then, oh, hey, you get heavy artillery. Again, this sort of modern game design. Now, Black Ice isn't guilty of that in that you have heavy artillery, you have medium artillery, and you have light artillery. And they had, in World War I, heavy, medium, and light artillery, so any developed nation should have, whether they're in production or not is another question, but should basically have access to heavy, medium, and light artillery. It's not early artillery is light, late artillery is heavy. No, that's not the way development worked. So I went in and looked, because I have a book that covers every single non-self-propelled weapon system in the German arsenal. I have another book that covers every single self-propelled weapon system in the German arsenal, including captured ones. Very nice books. Went in and looked at them. And there's only like, this was years ago now, so forgive me, my memory isn't perfect here. It's like five different changes to medium field artillery during World War II. Only one of them. Hello, Keith. Well, I'll get to the stuff. Yeah, and it could be, and the SS, now SS field uniforms. I know this is just, oh, well, okay, now see here we do, because SS field uniforms at the start of the war were gray, and at the end of the war were gray, and they did add also camouflage for the SS. You had gray, and the camouflage was not so much fitted cut stuff, but, well, no, they did do that. They did both camouflage and gray uniforms. But, and the Army did do camouflage uniforms too, but not nearly as many. The SS did more. But at the beginning of the war, the field uniform was gray, not black. Black was always the, never used by the, where is it? This unit, however you pronounce this, Verfungerungsstruppen, okay, which becomes Das Reich, or the field uniform for Leibstandarte was always gray. Notice I said field uniform, not duty uniform when they're doing the Wachtruppen, doing the bodyguard work. But in the field uniform was always gray. Always gray. Back into the 30s was gray. Oh, but Gamer, there's a black SS uniforms. Yes. Panzer uniforms for the Army, for the Waffen-SS, and for the Luftwaffe, because yes, the Luftwaffe had panzers, particularly in the Hermann Goering division. You can see them wearing their Luftwaffe-style caps, these kind of caps, with their panzer, black panzer wrap, they call it the panzer sort of cut uniforms. Now, these these colorizations. One, there's no gold. There is no gold on a SS officer's hat. That will virtually all be silver. And the SS did not use Feldgrau, field gray uniforms. They used gray, or maybe more slate gray, is probably a more defined color, slate gray uniforms. And they were using those back in the 30s, 37, 38, for their field uniforms. They only wore these black thingies, for Allgemeine SS uniforms and Totenkopf SS uniforms and all of that stuff. Now, once the war starts, the SS fairly quickly, the regular SS guys, switch over to their slate gray uniforms as well. So, but that isn't field uniforms. That's something different. So they do transition to everybody wearing gray eventually, except of course, because you can maybe see what that might be, the front guy here, that might be a Panzerrat, but I don't think so. So it was just the Panzer troops that continued wearing black, and some of the foreign SS non-combat type uniform guys, like guys in Norway and the guys in the Netherlands, the SS guys, the local SS people, were wearing older SS uniforms with new insignia on them. Yes, I know a lot about this stuff here. But back to the artillery. There was one, and only, we could talk about the very late, never put in production, Czech design, really good artillery design that they came up with, and got it in 1945, but never put into any production. So let's discount that right now. There was only one material improvement to performance of medium field artillery through all of the roughly 5 models that were made, German models through the war of artillery. Okay. And that was to allow for a more explosive in the charge to shoot it further. And you needed to have a more reinforced gun to shoot the ammo. So it's not just an ammo change, it's a bit of a gun change. All of the other quote unquote improvements to artillery were to do one of two things, if not both. One, simplification of manufacture. It's what is unnecessary or what can be simplified in this gun to keep it effective and make it cheaper to manufacture. And two, make it lighter to move around so that it was more mobile for the, not necessarily so much for the trucks towing it, these guys, whether heavy trucks or regular trucks, but or the wherever they are here, the prime movers, they're here somewhere, not so much for them. I mean, that a bit, but mostly for handling purposes of, the gunners, repositioning their gun around, handling it. So and this was for the more, 105 millimeter and 100 millimeter. I don't know, medium and light. I don't know how they're doing this, but I was looking at their 105 guns through the war. Is what I was looking at. So it was simplification of manufacture and better handling performance, making the gun lighter, which normally also made it easier to produce. So it's either one or two of those. So they weren't. There was I think it was around maybe 42 or something. They get something to shoot 20% further range added to the gun. Everything else that was done to improve the gun was to make it easier to produce. Now for the uniforms, I also know that everything they do with the uniform, and we're not talking about cold weather winter uniforms or lightweight tan uniforms for the desert. We're talking about the standard field uniforms. Yeah, everything they did change-wise that I can detect, and again, I wanted to be a uniform collector way back when I was a kid, and I just realized however good I was sort of at it, I couldn't tell the difference between really good fakes and real. And so I gave up on uniform collecting. And I didn't quite have the money to go to really high-end reputable dealers that have, a return policy that if you think this is a fake, you can return it. That's that's expensive. So I gave up collecting uniforms. But I wanted to collect uniforms. Uniforms are cool. So I know a bit about these uniforms. So from the 36 to the 40, they everything that was done that I can, everything significantly material done to the uniforms was done to simplify manufacture, use less material, particularly. And I don't know why you're going to two steel from one steel, from 2 to 1 steel. What are you adding? They actually reduce the amount of, they're using synthetic Bakelite buttons instead of metal buttons or whatever on their uniforms. They're doing every single thing, and we're talking uniforms, so belt buckles and helmets, yeah, that uses some metal. I'll grant you that. But uses very little, and I know they don't have, maybe they do in the newer version, but they don't have wool, because that was their main sort of wool uniforms, though they were blending it with other materials at times. And they were doing to make toward a bit later, not so much the 1940, but what is it, 43 or something, blouse, is actually sort of taking from the Eisenhower, quote unquote, the Eisenhower jacket that the Americans and the British have adopted, that, are just a jacket that goes to the waist and not, down past the belt. So, reduce materials and make it simpler to manufacture. So, if we were looking at uniforms, it should entirely be, whether if you want to argue, and yes, you could argue, camouflage or something like that, as opposed to duck, dodge, weave, or duck, dodge, dive, and duck again, or whatever. That to making these things a little better defense, to hiding a little bit. Okay, I could grant that. But it should be less production costs. So I don't know, is it just the ignorance or unwilling to look a little bit into it? It doesn't take a lot to look into, figure that out for German uniforms. Or is it just they're infected? Now, it could be the answer is yes, both, or infected with this idea that as you go along, things should be incrementally more costly to produce. But in fact, for uniforms, as well as artillery, and some of these other elements, it gets easier, particularly with Germany. It gets easier and easier to produce. We could talk about adding, the Germans, add difficulty with their rifle production because they've experienced enough, including dealing with captured Soviet semi-autos from the late 30s and early 40s, that, yeah, that SVT, I think was it SVT 38 and SVT 40? I forget, there are slight model numbers there, slight changes to them. My understanding is you get the gun and, that's in relatively good shape, and you get good ammo, and you go out to the range, and it'll shoot fine. That's my understanding. Not that it will never jam, but it'll shoot fine. It gets a little bit rough, meaning you've you shot the gun up a bunch, wear it out, get it in the field, not clean it enough, because, hey, you've been marching around and shooting and marching around and shooting and marching around, and I'm talking the gas system and the thing. Not so much dirt getting in, but guns create their own dirt as their use. It becomes less reliable, and it can be harder to manually function using the, pulling the bolt back manually, as it would be considerably harder than it simply to work the action on the bolt action, and partially because you can get not just a failure to properly function, but you can get it jammed up and actually be worse than a bolt action. So the Germans initially, not what ends up happening, but their Gewehr 41s, they insist that it also function with a manual bolt as well as being semi-auto. Be both, people, both. Have both a bolt and a semi-auto kind of thing. So they come up with this cockamamie system that does it, as opposed to do what the Americans end up doing, and is having a rather reliable and probably, I don't know a whole lot about the Gewehr 43 that is the eventual semi-auto model. How reliable it is, but I think it's reasonably reliable. But I know the M1 Garand for the time period is very reliable, and it's only really wanting the stability of because especially back then, the stability of a semi-auto gun for, precise shooting, with scopes, being a sniper, just isn't quite there. Yeah, I know there's the M1D that it's much better than most, but if you're really looking for that getting that scope zeroed in and putting that round precisely, and you're really good at it, you probably want a really accurate Springfield rifle, or because Springfield's basically, a Mauser, a really accurate Mauser type rifle, and you can precisely put that with good quality, with consistently good quality ammunition, not just your standard ammo that's coming out of the factories. You can perform considerably better with a bolt action in those days. Now, modern day, properly built, very expensive semi-autos are functionally the same for most snipers. We can still argue, and a lot of sniper high-end elites still use bolt actions, partially for the weight situation too, I believe, because a really good semi-auto sniper rifles tends to get a bit heavy, where a Remington 7 model 700 done really nicely can be fairly lightweight, and if you're just shooting a few rounds occasionally, the extra recoil is not a problem. It does beat you up a bit, but it's not terribly a problem. So there is no reason, and actually there's an anti-reason for me to upgrade the field uniforms, because I want more uniforms now, cheaper, efficiently, than I want better uniforms. And that is not what I was expecting to do by researching this, because see, again, I know history. I've looked at this. We can why, okay, Portuguese, let's see about getting looking at the thing, but it doesn't take a whole lot to figure out. And Americans, Britons definitely do the same simplifying uniform production. The Japanese uniforms are pretty damn simple from the beginning, and I don't know if there's really a simplification there much. There might be. Chinese uniforms are as simple as possible. I mean, literally falling apart simple. Russian uniforms, I don't know enough about them if they really get more simple during the war. So I don't know. The idea that it's going to cost me more resources and more factory time to do something that is in fact the opposite during the war, because this is not considered like support equipment like field telephones or radios or field kitchens or whatever that might be getting more complicated, because those are already in this game as a separate manufactured item. Okay, let's look at the chat, and is them telling me why I'm all wrong, I'm sure, but okay. The jumbo, yeah, okay, you're looking at tanks. Bit of a counterpoint, but I don't know if you know that you can change production values. You need army experience, but it would make the gun much worse. I'm not sure. Okay, you can replace, yeah, well, I don't need to do that, because I need more guns than better guns. Because I do not have enough medium guns, I need more of them. So I don't want to replace them with something better. Second counterpart, you can build factories for lower production values, but the material cost is not affected. You can research equipment factories. Yes, that would probably be helpful, but still, you don't want you don't. Everybody out there in World War II is setting up to make more simplified uniforms. So why would you design a game that makes more complicated uniforms, even if you can quote unquote do things with factories to make them easier to produce? Because mostly if you look at the uniforms for World War II, the early ones are the better uniforms. Functionally are the better uniforms. So I just, I'm not buying the idea that there's quote unquote things you could do to mitigate the problem. Yes, I will agree with you there that those very well are real, but the real thing we're talking about here is a difference in design, not a difference in production styles or capabilities. Okay, so we've cut off their rail links to Orel. Looks like that's going to hold. Let's attack there. You can support the attack. Okay, we are combating areas with our air, but we're not really winning. We just don't have enough production, or they have too much. Well, yeah, I hear you. Okay, medium artillery. Oh, that's mountain artillery, medium artillery. We only have 300 and some guns extra. I'm not. We had 1,000 guns like we do with the mountain artillery. I would agree with you that we can upgrade. Okay, well, they're still trying to push back to get this railway here. We're just a couple of divisions, and they're going to lose. How is our supply doing? Because we pushed a little bit forward. Okay, 39 for 40. Okay, supply is looking actually fairly good. This just seems that November seems long. You know, I can see 4 to 6 months. Okay, but I'm not seeing 9 months plus to get get these built. That just seems awfully long time. Well, this episode has gotten long enough, so I think we will end the episode here. I want to thank everyone. I especially want to thank Tim, Strongarm, Niagro, Timothy Sertoyjet, who may still be around, Gary, Garrett, Marcus, Folk, for your support over on Patreon. And of course, the great Hoffmanator for support over on Patreon. But everybody else, all I ask you to do is, lick the like button. It is tasty, trust me. You just want to lick it once because it's different each time, but lick it. Check out the taste and make a comment, post a comment. That's really good. And of course, new people that are new around here, please subscribe to the channel for more rants by Gamer on things that make him go, what the fuck's going on? So hopefully it's been entertaining. See you next time for more, yes, even more Hearts of Iron.